Hi everyone, I am Mishka and welcome back to my channel. In today's episode of Our Life Beginnings and Always, we are going to be starting moment 7 of step 2. Oh my gosh. But before we get into it, make sure to hit the subscribe button and share this video with your friends so then they can find out my amazing channel just like you have right now. So yeah, let's get into it and I hope you enjoy. Okay, so this moment is called birthday. It was a pleasant afternoon. The sun shone brightly and the breeze tugged lightly at the balloons strung around the park. You and Cove had just been dropped off at Miranda Eckert's birthday party. Okay. You didn't really know Miranda. Last year was the first time you had a class with her, and everyone at school knew her as quiet. The shy girl stuck to her own friend group like glue. It had been a surprise that she was having such a big party. You looked around the expansive park, a spacious recreation center in the next town over, and noticed a bouncy house. Miranda had a bit of a reputation for not caring if she acted mature like other teens did sometimes. It made a certain amount of sense that her party would match that. Well, since we don't really know this girl, I haven't really had any dialogue with her, I don't really have an opinion of her. Miranda was a stranger for the most part. What were you supposed to think of a person you didn't know? You hadn't had a choice in coming here today. Your moms insisted on it after you got the invitation, as did Cove's mom and dad. So both you and he were driven over to the next town with presents in tow. All the parents had been pretty firm about going to your birthday if you'd been invited. You wondered if it was an adult thing. You didn't get why it seemed like such a straightforward conclusion to them. Cove made a small noise which caught your attention. He looked around, scanning the area. He fidgeted with his gift in hand. Any idea what we're supposed to do with these? You looked at your own present and then towards the sitting area. There was a table filled with snacks and drinks, supplies for various party games. Past all that, you spotted one table in the back that seemed to have a truckload of gifts. You pointed it out to Cove. Let's drop the presents off over there. Cove nodded with a smile and turned to where you gestured. He saw it too. Cool. You and Cove began to walk over to the present table, flattening the well-trimmed grass beneath your feet. You walked past groups of people, classmates in semicircles broken up into the usual friend groups chatted away. You or maybe Cove received the occasional greeting or friendly nod. However, as you passed by even more people that you had never seen before, you became aware there were more strangers here than not. It was more crowded than you expected. Miranda Eckert, the quiet girl, was hosting the most popular birthday party you had been to in a long time. You looked at the new faces and thought you saw something of Miranda in them. Cousins, nieces, or nephews, maybe? Parties could be a big deal in her family. The both of you reached the table. You set down your gift in an empty space, brushing some confetti aside, and Cove placed his gently next to it. He looked at the present thoughtfully. Hey, what did you get her? Before you had a chance to answer, Cove opened his mouth again and tapped his gift. I found this sparkly backpack. I figured she could use it for a school or a trip or something. Your mom said taking you out shopping the other day. You searched through the store and ultimately... a necklace and bracelet set. You thought you remembered Miranda wore jewelry, simple thin bracelets strung up and down her arm. Hopefully she'd enjoy the pieces you chose. The silver-colored bracelet had different pink charms, jingling hearts and kittens, while the princess link necklace had a similar hearts for its centerpiece. It was a cute set, much more adorable than adult. You described it to Cove briefly and he had no objections. Not a bad idea. He brushed his hands against the side of his pants. I really hope Miranda likes her gifts, but I think we both did good. With that, he gave you a sunny grin. You touched the gift one more time and then stepped away. Without the direction of needing to put stuff away, the two of you weren't sure what to do next. You felt a little awkward and Cove shrunk in on himself as he looked around. There were more guests heading to the present table, so you turned away and wandered over to a nearby tree where you wouldn't be in the way. From there, you both inspected the area and planned the next step. You were glad that Cove had been invited too. At least you had his company in this unfamiliar place. You watched him and he gave you a nervous grin. It reassured you a little and you smiled back. What next? Cove did not appreciate being put on the spot. He was just as unsure as you were. Birthday party stuff. It didn't seem to be time for cake with what people still arriving. Nothing else seemed to be organizing yet either. He noticed that himself and tried again. We could find Miranda? That was an idea. It made sense to greet the birthday girl. Okay, we could say hello. Wish her happy birthday. Ask her what she wants people to do.
Sounds good.
With that point, it was decided. The Miranda hunt had begun. You wandered around. Anytime you saw someone with Miranda's hair color, you got a little closer, but more than once it turned out not to actually be her. Hey, look! Finally, he pointed over to the real Miranda. She smiled slightly when you both approached, but ducked her head. She seemed a little overwhelmed with being the center of attention today. Hi, Cove. Hi, Mina. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Thanks. I'm really
glad you could come.
Oh, sorry. You all stood awkwardly. Miranda did seem genuinely happy, but there was still a distance between you. This is a great looking party. Thank you. Is there something we need to do, or should we just hang out?
Oh, well, you can talk to people if you want. There are games that are gonna start soon.
And the bounce house should be open later if you feel like jumping. Then after that, it's cake and present time. We'll have ice cream too. After that is when people will start going home. I hope that's okay with you guys. Cove nodded. He seemed a little more confident about the situation now. Thanks for letting us know. You grinned at her and she nodded back. Miranda waited there and you became hyper aware of the silence forming. You heard a shout for a Randy and Miranda brightened up, a total 180 with how stiff she had been with you.
I gotta talk to some more people. Bye!
Bye-bye. The birthday girl ran off to her friend, leaving you and Cove with at least a little more idea of what to expect. You both glanced at each other wordlessly. All that was left now was finding something to fill time until the activities began. Just talk with Cove. You started talking about how you felt about this kind of birthday party and what you wanted to do for your next party. Cove made the occasional suggestion. The conversation became silly as you started joking about ridiculous party ideas. Cove wanted a moon party and you wondered if anyone ever had tried to make a cake big enough to be the party location. Suddenly, a loud voice boomed over the crowd. The constant buzz of conversation dropped as one of the adults, maybe Miranda's dad, asked the kids to gather around because it was game time.
Huh.
I wonder what's gonna happen. You made a joke about something that wasn't gonna happen. We're gonna play high stakes poker. It's obvious. Obvious, huh? Look at this crowd. Most of the guests were teenagers around your age, but there were also quite a few adults and some younger kids. Cove nodded sagely at the group of little kids. Yeah, these are high rollers. Just like you and the rest of your family. He smirked at that one. Ew. Sorry. The adult announced that the children under 10 had the first turn on the bounce house. For everyone else, it was time to play pin the tail on the donkey. Cove raised his eyebrows. He was surprised for sure. You were a little weirded out. This is a strange development. You did not wake up this morning expecting this to be your day. You reluctantly joined the line since that was what you were supposed to do and you didn't feel like arguing. The donkey in question was a cartoony poster with big eyes that looked more like ping pong balls. It was positioned a few feet above the ground on a tree trunk. The teen who arrived first was blindfolded and then spun around. He was nudged to the side and away from the other kids so he wouldn't stick someone with the tail instead. Unfortunately for him, he placed the tail on the donkey's head like some kind of bizarre earring. He wouldn't be winning that far from the target. He was next appointed far better by landing on the donkey's back. The spectators clapped politely and the line moved up. More teens tried their hand at it. Some got closer than others, but no one had gotten it perfect yet. Soon it was Cove's turn. He was blindfolded and spun just like the others. At this point, it was a close match, and everyone was watching with bated breath. Cove approached the donkey and stuck the tail on without any hesitation. Cove stood back and removed his blindfold, cheering when he saw how close he was. He turned his head over his shoulder and grinned at you. Your turn. Okay, we took our turn. We're gonna get this girl! With the blindfold on, the bright park became utterly dark. As you were spun around, the sounds around you seemed to get louder. As you could tell the direction of the bounce house from the shrieks of the younger children. You stopped spinning and stepped forward, tail in hand. It was time to give it a stab. You bent and placed it downward. Don't do that. Don't place it up either. So let's do it in front of us. Okay. You pressed the tail into the target and stepped back. You took your blindfold off to check your results. People cheered from behind. You had indeed pinned the tail on the donkey. Yes! Right where donkeys prefer their tails to be. You beamed at your accomplishment and felt a surge of pride. It was perfect. You looked back at the crowd behind you and your eyes met Cove's. He was impressed. You even got a small thumbs up. A few more kids took their turn. One girl managed to somehow pin the tail on the opposite side of the tree. You were pretty sure it had to be on purpose. That's stupid. With the line empty, the game was finally over. The adult running thing started to inspect the donkey. At this point, the sign was more tails than donkey. However, you were the undeniable winner. No one could get closer than perfect. After your name was announced, everyone cheered and clapped for you once more. You came up to the front and the man gave you a handful of candy as a prize for the victory. Thank you. As you shoved the candy into your pockets, Cove walked up to you. Congrats on the win. You felt bashful. Once you had your candy situated, you unwrapped a perfectly chewy taffy candy and shoved it in your mouth. It was sweet and tasted like artificial banana flavoring. It also gave you an excuse not to speak and you just nodded in response. Oh, we can share the candy with Cove. Do you want some? His sparkling eyes told you yes. You held out a lollipop and Cove accepted it carefully. It was a mystery flavor, so you had no idea if he'd like it or not. He unwrapped the treat and it was a swirl pale blue and translucent green. Cove gave it a tiny lick. What's it taste like? Your victory and berries, I think. You have laughed at that and you gave him more candies. An older teen walked up, tall enough to tower over you and Cove. You felt a little intimidated by the stern-faced teenager until she started to speak. Her voice was low but friendlier than her tough frown would suggest. Hi, I'm handing out party favors. Do you want one? She showed you party hats. She insisted they were the key to a true partying mood. She had two options, either a colorful headband with two tiny party hats arranged almost like ears, or a tiara with a star on it. They were both very festive.
It's okay.
No thanks. You knew the teen hadn't actually glared at him. Her default facial expression just seemed grim. I want a crown. You pointed to the crown and the teenager passed it over to you with the solemnness of crowning a monarch. No, come get one! You held a pink headband hat in one hand and a crown in the other. You tried to imagine what they looked like on Cove. You really should try it. It'd be great. Cove looked back at the hats and at you. With a sigh, he grabbed hold of one. The teen with the hats clapped as much as she could with all the hats in her hands. The unknown teenager nodded approvingly at you both and went to pass out hats to more people. You put the party hat on your head with a smile and it fit well. It was surprisingly comfortable. It really completes your look. When did you get so fashionable? He smirked and you just adjusted your new accessory. I'm a party animal now. Really? Of course. Cove nodded with a thoughtful look on his face. If the party spirit is contained in party hats, does that mean they're haunted? You snorted at this suggestion. You considered the hat on your head. It didn't seem haunted, but maybe that was what it wanted you to think. Aww, Cove. He looks so cute. Cove finally put his own hat on. He was nervous about it, his face uncertain.
That's,
I don't know about this. I feel kind of silly. Does it look weird? You look great, Cove. Oh, thanks. He readjusted his hat bashfully. After that, the people in charge quickly set up the next game. Teenagers milled about until they were told to find partners. You tried to listen to the rules, straining your ears to listen to without announcing what you were supposed to do. It was a simple game. One person in a pair would throw candy while the other had to catch it in their mouth. If they caught it, the pair would move on to the next round, while everyone would take a step back and the former catcher would become the thrower. The game would continue, the players getting further and further, until one set of partners were the only ones left standing, or everyone lost in a round. About half of the guests had already found partners. They moved fast. You noticed Cove had his eyes on you. Can we be partners? Neither of you are all that familiar with anyone else here. It'd be the safe choice to pair up. Okay, let's do it, partner.
cool.
Cool. He beamed, and you started wondering about your respective candy catching capabilities. 2 rows of players facing each other formed. Cove tilted his head towards them, and you started to head over. You both lined up directly in front of each other. It took a while to pass out the candy. You were handed a small bag of gummies that smelled strongly fruity. You noticed Cove took it upon himself to do a taste test of a red one across from you. They're not bad. What did it taste like? Raspberry or cherry? It's red, so strawberry? Maybe? Pomegranate? It was a mystery. Maybe you get a red one later. And then it was time to begin. Cove's row was set to throw first. He smiled nervously, his eyes wide with seriousness. You grinned and Cove's smile looked more genuine and less filled with tenseness. The game was on. The adult in charge shouted for the throws to go. You and Cove were only a few feet away from each other. With Cove's careful toss, you caught the candy easily. Yes, okay, so we moved on to the next round. Like you, most of the other players moved on to the next round. There were a few gaps in the rows as everyone took a step back. The round was harder with pairs further apart, but not overly so. It could be done if both partners tried. You did your best as you tossed it. You carefully plucked a gummy from the bag and felt the weight. You shifted it in your hand a couple times for practice, and then told Cove you were ready. You went for an underhand throw, careful to aim for Cove's mouth. The blue candy arched and landed perfectly in Cove's mouth. He chewed it twice and then smiled widely. You could tell Cove was genuinely pleased to make it through another round. You were happy as well. The next round began. You took another step back. Cove was even further away now, but he made an okay sign. He was in this to win it. Around you, the once packed rows of players had thinned out some. You wondered how many rounds everyone had left in them. Cove swung his arm and made eye contact with you. You nodded and the green candy flew towards you. You tried your best to catch it. You followed the arc of candy and opened your mouth wide. It had a slight spin, and you tilted your head to the left to compensate. You bit down on the candy, grinning with your victorious catch. It tasted sweet and vaguely like a Slurpee. Oh my god, I cannot talk. Yeah, Mina. Cove was thrilled. He was entirely vested in the game at this point. You and Cove were still in the game. You knew this was the final round. Only a few other pairs were left. Cove was determined to win. You could see it in the clench of his jaw, the careful way he watched you. You thought this was kind of funny. You snorted at the ridiculousness of it all. This is a kid's game, and yet Cove was taking it so seriously. Cove gave you a firm grin, and you prepared to throw. Your fingers grabbed an orange gummy from the bag. It felt solid in your grasp, even if your hand was starting to get sticky from touching all the sugary sweets. Cove leaned his face towards you and bent his knees, ready to catch. The time came, and you looked at the candy and then at Cove. You messed up your throw on purpose! You tried your best. Oh my god, if I did that, I would be so sad. The candy flew like a missile straight towards him. Cove almost stumbled forward trying to get it right, but your aim was perfect. He got it into his mouth. Yay! A wide grin set on his face as Cove victoriously chomped down on the candy. Yes! Along with the cheer, he jumped up in excitement and pumped one arm. You look to your left and then to your right. You see the few remaining pairs walking away, commiserating over their losses. With some shock, you realize that you and Cove were the only ones who made it that round. You won. You watched a moment that Cove clicked into the same realization. His face brightened like a sunshine. He jogged over close the distance between you. You stepped closer to meet him halfway. You high-fived Cove. Nice job. You put your hand up and Cove high-fived you with a satisfying smack. You won this together. He giddily stomped his feet in place in front of you as though he couldn't contain his energy. We did it! And then he wrapped an arm around your neck, pulling you closer into a celebratory side hug. You adjusted the hat that had nearly fallen off throughout the event. Nice catch. Nice throw. The game runner strolled over and merely gave you both a bunch of more candy on top of letting you keep the gummy bags. It was quite the collection. Cove laughed over just how much candy you had both acquired. Between this game and pinning the tail on the donkey, you were swimming in sugar now. With the candy tossed over, you were going to need something else to do. You didn't have to wait long. You heard someone in the crowd shout that the bounce house was officially open for the older kids. You and Cove shared a look. Cove smiled and you knew he wanted in. You both ran over to the bouncy castle and kicked your shoes off. You crawled into the inflated castle with Cove hot on your heels. There were a couple other teens inside already. You started to get a feel for bouncing. Cove hopped from the middle to the side and back. Just after he landed from a particularly high jump, someone else stuck in. It was the birthday girl herself. Hi, Miranda. Hi, birthday girl. Miranda looked happy. She waved both her hands at you with a megawatt grin. Hope you're having fun. She hopped around with her hands in front of her like a kangaroo. It was a surprisingly effective way to clear distance in the bounce house. She then jumped high, kicking both her legs out to the side and touched the tips of her toes with her fingers. Wow. Miranda hadn't run out of tricks yet. She jumped a few more times, getting height, then before doing a backflip and tucking into a ball. She managed to land on her feet, but didn't stick the landing. She tumbled back and fell on her butt. Cove clapped and Miranda inclined her head, almost like a bout. She was back to jumping in no time. You're so good at this. She bounced close enough to the two of you to talk without shouting across the way. Cove's bouncing slowed down to accommodate their conversation.
My family gets this every year. And we have a trampoline in the backyard.
You nodded along to the conversation. Miranda giggled a bit and then her eyes sparkled. Hey, I can launch someone if you want. If I can jump in front of you, then your bounce will go higher. Okay, launch me. Sure. Miranda leaped over to you, her excitement clear on her face. Cove watched with interest. She explained more about how this was supposed to work. You got ready to bounce on her cue. 3, 2, 1! The moment she came down, you jumped high. The force of her, just as she said, helped launch you up. The air rushed past your face, and then you were coming back down. Your feet hit the bounce house hard enough to help launch Miranda up a little as well. She giggled some more, and the two of you took turns bouncing each other up. Cove clapped her offered suggestions, but it was coming clear that he wanted to turn too. Miranda invited him to join and tried to synchronize your bounces to launch Cove up super high. The first time resulted in everyone collapsing down into a pile of laughs. By the fifth attempt, Cove managed to catch some serious airtime. Woo! You all have fun bouncing around. You twirled. Miranda did stunts. Cove futilely tried to touch the highest tip in the castle ceiling. You and Cove chatted to Miranda more than you ever had at school. She truly was the queen of this bouncy castle. Whenever someone did something cool, everyone would cheer. If you fell, the others would help you up. Eventually, more people wanted to take turns in the bounce house, so you and Cove left. As you slipped on your shoes, you saw Miranda get drawn into conversation with a group of adults. She would be talking to them for a while. You and Cove decided to take a break and hydrate. You went to the party table and grabbed some ice water. Cove handed you a party noisemaker he picked up from the same table. He blew on his and it made a funny sound when it unrolled. Cove downed his drink in a couple of gulps. He had gotten pretty into bouncing after all. You were still sipping on your water when Cove blew his noisemaker again, then again, and again. It was almost like a tune. You don't recognize any particular melody, but a noisemaker also isn't an instrument. The noise cut through the hum of the other party guests, loud and noticeable. You blew your noisemaker back at Cove. You blew hard enough to unfurl the paper completely straight. It jutted towards Cove, almost tapping his chin. Cove wasn't going to let that stand. He retaliated and blew his back at you. It nearly touched your nose. It was a game now. Aww, Cove. Both of you tried to land a light hit on the other. Cove managed to get your chin, while you scored right in between his eyes.
Oh, great.
Oh my god. It's Jeremy. Oh my god. Someone vaguely familiar shouted and you snapped your head to the side. Cove's noisemaker dropped from his mouth. The speaker stepped up and there was no doubt it was Jeremy, that mean boy you met at the start of summer. It's the bowl cut kid! Jeremy Scout told you everything about what he thought of that moniker. Hi, bowl cut kid! Why are you here? Cove's tone was defensive. You watched Jeremy's face turn slack as if Cove's question was the idiocy above all idiocies. Didn't I already explain this? He hadn't, so both you and Cove exchanged a look. Do you have memory loss or are you really that stupid? Seriously.
I didn't walk here.
My parents brought me. Apparently I couldn't just stay inside like I wanted. No, they insisted that I get out and enjoy the day and have fun on vacation, blah blah blah. He said enjoy the day and have fun on vacation, like some people would say scrub the entire bathroom or listen to an off-key singer for 10 hours. They found a park because I hate the beach. Too bad I also hate parks. Ugh, it's dirty here. They don't know anything. Oh, and then they saw the stupid party and decided to bother some adults by asking what was going on. They think maybe we could be included. It's moronic. Get it now? That's how my parents are. Annoying and embarrassing. Why would anyone want strangers at their party? Why can't they ever just leave things alone? He huffed loudly and his eyes shot daggers at some grown-ups that presumably were his parents. And all you can do is complain about it. Sucks to be you. Shut up. Jeremy's eyes slipped away from you to take in the rest of the park for a little bit. It was a little awkward. It was possible he didn't know what to do, but then he smoked again.
So dumb.
How can people really go around these embarrassing party hats? Do they think it's fun or something? How could a human being be so dumb? It's just kind of fun to do party stuff. Nice, sorry. Jeremy scoffed, unimpressed. The impression on his face was nasty as he spoke. I am not surprised an empty-headed person like you would think that. Excuse me? I'm gonna fight you. Jeremy looked you over, completely dismissive. It's so rude you couldn't help but feel offended. Cove's face hardened. He seemed more offended than when anyone actually insulted him personally. Just because you don't know how to be happy doesn't mean no one else does. It's not our fault if you hate everything. It's not okay for you to take it out on Mina. She doesn't do anything wrong. You are. Jeremy seemed unfazed by Cove's defensive sniff. Mina can humiliate herself on her own. She doesn't need you to step in and do it for her. Punch Jeremy in the face, girl! Go for it! You landed a solid punch to his nose. He shrieked and backed away, clutching his face. He glared furiously at you. You really are crazy! Oh my god. You laughed at his reaction. People were starting to watch what was going down. Your argument wasn't exactly quiet at this point. Why don't you just leave us alone if we're so awful? Jeremy glared even more and huffed.
Dumbasses.
Talking to you is pointless. He stalked off like the last time you saw him, muttering under his breath. Cove sighed in relief after Jeremy was gone. He relaxed, but only for a moment. He noticed just how much attention you drawn from the other guests. Luckily, it hadn't gone on long enough to get a real crowd. A concerned A concerned adult in a blue button-up shirt approached you and asked who that was and if everyone was alright.
Okay.
I'm fine. Cove looked at you cautiously, asking just as much as the adult if you were okay. Everything's fine now, you don't have to worry about us. The concerned adult lingered for a few seconds, but nodded and left you alone. The Jeremy fiasco was officially over. Cove wrapped his eyes, clearly ready to put all that nonsense behind him. Then he started laughing. It was a surprise laugh, breaking out of his chest without any actual joy. It was nervous and disbelieving, all the complex emotions brought about by one meeting with Jeremy. I can't believe it. He spoke in fits and starts. I can't believe you actually punched him. He deserved it. He can't just say things and get away with it. Cove nodded to himself and then continued speaking. I mean, I wouldn't want someone to do it to me, but it's not like I can blame you. He was treating us so bad for no reason. I'm pretty sure he'll be okay. I bet it won't even change anything for him. Cove paused and shyly twisted his fingers together. Then in a quieter voice he spoke. And if you're bad for doing it, I'm bad too, because I kind of liked watching you do it, Mina. He became bashful, barely able to meet your eyes as he smiled shyly. But only because he deserved it. I wouldn't want that to happen to someone out of nowhere or anything. You laughed happily over Cove's admission. Do you want to tell your moms about Jeremy, I mean? Are you going to say what you did back at him? They'd probably be nice about it. Maybe they'd know how to handle someone like him. Cove bit his lip and thought, I'm not going to tell them anything if you don't. Thanks for asking. You know, once a secret, always a secret, whatever the saying is. Just keep it a secret. But let's not. I don't think it'd help.
Alright.
Okay. No, don't apologize to him. You decided to drop the topic. Finally, he bent over to pick up the noisemaker that Cove dropped and Jeremy appeared. It might be too dirty to use now, but you didn't want to leave it there. He accepted it softly when you offered the little favor back to him. Thanks, Mina. I like how we can be there for each other. It makes me feel better about this kind of stuff when it happens. Yeah. Cove suggested that you should find a seat at one of the tables. It was almost cake time and you wanted to be prepared. It was a good reminder that the party wasn't over yet. There's a free table there. Let's get ready for some cake. And pretty sure we're getting birthday cake now. So yeah, you and Cove tried to settle down after the last event. You took seats across from one another at one of the park tables. There were a few attempts to chat, but for the most part, you simply watched the adults run around to set up the cake cutting. There was a minor panic when who you assume was Miranda's dad apparently forgot the lighter for the candles. He and another man went through and started asking the other adults for matches or lighters. They weren't having any luck until the grim-faced teenager who had been passing out party hats pulled a green lighter out of the ice cream cooler. Oop. And I forgot that my movie was playing. Whoops. Sorry if you could hear that in the background. At the start of this episode, sorry. Why the lighter was put in the cooler remained a mystery, but with party hat girls find it was time to get things going again. Miranda sat at the head of the longest table. A large chocolate cake was set in front of her. She lit all 14 candles with the cooler lighter with a big smile. The adults started singing happy birthday and the rest of the guests joined in. At the end of the song, Miranda blew out the candles with a dedicated huff. She closed her eyes and you saw her silently mouth something. Maybe it was a birthday wish. Miranda cut her own slices. Then one of the grown-ups took over cutting the cake. Another adult passed around plates of cake slices with a scoop of vanilla ice cream to the guests. Eventually, the cake got around to you and Cove. Cove was pleased with the treat in general. The cake looked rich and moist. It smelled quite chocolatey. Okay, so for me personally, I hate cake. I used to love cake, honestly, when I was little, but now that I've gotten older, I just don't like the taste of it. I don't like cake or cupcakes, and the only type of cake I'll eat is ice cream cake, so I'm only gonna eat the ice cream. You took your plastic spoon and tried to bite the ice cream. It was a little plain, like most bulk vanilla ice cream, but it was still ice cream. You liked it and took another bite. The cake, however, you shoved off to the very side of your plate. Hey, I'll take what you don't want. Cove eyed you hopefully, and you could hear his legs swing against the tablecloth hanging over the other side of the table. You slid your plate over. Sure, Cove. Cove transferred what you didn't want to his plate and then handed yours back. Thanks. He beamed, and you felt a little better that your unwanted dessert would still be enjoyed. Cove then took his fork and started mashing up some of his cake. When the cake resembled a pile of crummy chunks, he started mixing it into the ice cream. The melted parts of the ice cream made a kind of chocolate cake soup. Ew. You thought it looked gross. There was nothing appealing about it. It was moldy and crummy and looked more like dirt shoved into old milk than a dessert. Cove chuckled at your disgusted expression. Vanilla ice cream is not good by itself, and I'm gonna eat it with the cake either way, so why not put them together now? Things like ice cream cakes exist. Putting stuff together is normal. But not like that, Cove! Cove contentedly shoved down on his concoction. I don't know how to say that. One advantage to his mix is that the ice cream seemed to catch most of the crumbs that would usually fall from eating a cake. Unlike some of the kids around him, Cove's shirt remained clean. You started eating your dessert in earnest. You enjoyed yourself plenty. Cove suddenly put his fork down on his plate and stared up to the sky with a faraway expression. You checked, but didn't see anything attention-grabbing. His ice cream is better than the ones in those cups. You know, with the little wooden spoons, but I still kind of want that instead. You remember what kind he was talking about. Oh, the barbecue! Oh my god, that's such a long time ago. I can't believe we're like on step 2. Honestly, I felt like recording that, when I recorded it felt like yesterday. Not even joking. Oh yeah, like the ones handed out at the barbecue before the fireworks happened. Right. Kev smiled non-juglistly. I can't say that word. At the thought, you could picture a younger Cove for a moment with the same look in his eyes. You held up your fork and offered a bite of dessert to him. The dessert was held unsteadily on your plastic fork, and you had to be careful as you moved towards him. Cove raised his eyebrows for half a second before the realization came. Laughter burst out of him. Yeah, I remember that part too. He's blushing. Ah, you laughed along with him. Your shared laughter attracted the attention of some of the other party guests. It took a moment to compose yourselves and get back to your dessert. Miranda then started to open her gifts. She systematically attacked them all in a presents like a pro. She checked for any cards and read them loudly before opening a gift. She smiled at every present, including the ones you and Cove got her. You were glad the presents were accepted. It took time, but eventually Miranda got through all the gifts. She was very sweet and polite throughout it all. The party went until the sun began to set. By that point, most of everything had settled down and people had begun to leave. Any of the guests whose parents had stayed for the party were already gone, except for Miranda's family. Only a few kids, still waiting for the parents to come and get them, remained, you and Cove included. Miranda's family were cleaning up, and as a guest, neither you nor Cove were supposed to help with that. Instead, you both had decided to take it easy in the bouncy castle. It was somewhere out of the way where you could casually wait for your ride. Miranda had also elected to hang out with you. You weren't even bouncing anymore. Cove laid on his side with his back to a wall, and Miranda sat across from him with her legs stretched out. You also made yourself comfortable. It was nice and warm in the little building. It also felt like you had some privacy, which was nice. You could all speak openly here. Thanks for coming. She looked down but continued shyly. It's been really cool to hang out with you a little bit. Thanks for letting me come. I didn't think I'd be invited. Yeah, I wasn't expecting you either. Miranda just smiled a little more. So, did you notice anything happening earlier with some people you don't know showing up? She had to think about his question a little. It was apparent that she didn't have an encounter with Jeremy since there was no instant recognition. I heard about something. Some other parents were talking to my parents when their kid came and forced them to leave the park. She tilted her head to the side, finding it weird but also not important. Then everyone had cake and ice cream. Cove smiled uncomfortably. That's good. He was clearly worried that the Jeremy confrontation could have gotten to her. Luckily, it didn't seem that anyone had overheard or passed along Jeremy's cruel words. Cove rolled over on his back and sighed constantly. Miranda seemed confused but wasn't going to push. Change the subject. What are you going to do with all those gifts? It had been a mountain of stuff. Miranda laughed.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to find a way to get them all in my room.
Cove gave a bent smile and made a suggestion. You can carry some in that backpack you got. She giggled and clapped her hands with delight. That's true. You all continued chatting in a laid-back manner until it was time to go home. At the end of the day, you thought it had been quite the party. And that is moment 7 of step 2. Okay, well that is all for today, everyone. But lastly, you're a gem, and thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye!